massively, 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 massively. Hey, massively important, ladies and gentlemen, that I say a day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. By so saying, lead to me, please, honorable members, please do make sure that by the end of each and every lesson that I conduct, you learn something new. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, over there. So, obviously, you did see a question paper that I sent in the group. So, what I'm going to do is to read through the given statement, do an interpretation of that given function or functions, and take you through the questions. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you do not allow me to continue without you understanding whatever that I'm going to explain. So, everything has got an explanation and everything can be understood. So, if you feel like you do not understand, make sure to communicate and I will know where to start in terms of explaining. But most importantly, for those who are attending my lesson for the very first time, please be aware that we are at a stage where we are treating exam questions. We are done with an introduction to functions. So that lesson was recorded and it was posted on my YouTube channel. So the links are there in case if you can't find those, just let me know. But what I'm going to do very quickly is just to give you guys a bit of a background in summary. So this is what we are looking at. A type of a function called a straight line. We also have what we call a parabola. We also have what we call a hyperbola. And lastly, we discussed exponential. So at all the times, Daniel, when you see functions, ask yourself this question: am I dealing with a straight line, a parabola, a hyperbola, or exponential? So in this case, you can see you have a straight line. So that means you need to remember everything that I taught you regarding a straight line. And this is where it starts. A formula being y, it's equals to mx plus c, where m, it refers to your gradient, which is a change in y over change in x. And we do know very well that that constant or the c value, it refers to the vertical shift. Vertical shift means it may have shifted upwards or downwards. Remember, initially a straight line was passing through the origin, ending in the first and the third quadrant. The moment you see a function ending in the first and the third quadrant, just know it has a positive gradient. But if it ends in the second and the fourth quadrant, just know it has a negative gradient. So this could be y is equals to negative mx, and this one could be y is equals to positive mx. Can you see? You don't have the c value. Why? Because it's passing through the origin. So now, let's see. For example, that one. Can you see? It is not passing through the origin, but it has been shifted by whatever units upwards. That is why we are going to say for that one, it's going to be y is equals to positive mx and then plus c, meaning the c value is going to be a positive value. If it's positive 4, it means it was passing through the origin, but it has shifted by 1, 2, 3, 4 units upwards. If it was a negative c value, maybe negative 2, that would mean it was actually passing through the origin but shifted by 1, 2 units downward. So that means positive means up, negative means down. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you remember that with regards to a straight line. So all of this that I'm explaining is what we explained or what we discussed previously. So now, quickly, here comes a question. Because I'm seeing two functions there, and I've just discovered one of those, it's a straight line. What is that other function? Is it a parabola? Is it a hyperbola? Is it exponential? I'm not sure. For those who attended a lesson that I did when I was doing an introduction, anyone who would like to guess what type of a function is that?
Parabola.
Yes. Yes. So that means since we know it's a parabola, then it's load shedding for hyperbola and exponential, meaning you completely forget about those. So very quickly, let's discuss in summary what you guys learned as far as a parabola is concerned. We said the standard formula of a parabola is y is equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. This is the standard formula. Just like a straight line, we said is y is equals to mx plus c. But now, what can we say regarding a parabola? What we know is that we've got two shapes. The other one is this one, and what we are seeing there is this one. So the question is, what influence a function to look like that or to look like that? And we discussed to say it is because of that a value. So good people, I'm sure you remember that we said if a it's positive, so that means we are having a smiling shape, and for you to see that it's a smiling shape, that's if you draw our honorable member there. Can you see the mood is positive? That is why we are going to have that smiling shape type of a function. So now the moment we start having this shape, that means we are having a negative mood. The mood is negative. So that's why you are having a sad shape. Why? Because your A value, it is a negative. So already that means if you had a question where you were not given an equation of a function, it means already you know that if you had to determine an equation of that particular function, you expect a negative a value if it has a set shape. So also what I discussed, I said this b value in the middle, it actually influences the left and right shift. Maybe let me erase there to create some space to explain this. So what I said was, let's say this is a Cartesian plane. What is a Cartesian plane? It has the x and the y axis, with that point being the origin. So if, for example, you have a function making a U-turn in one of the quadrants, that means it has shifted. So can you see? Originally, a parabola was actually making a U-turn along the y-axis. Even the smiling one, it was making a U-turn right on the y-axis. But now, because things gets complicated as you move on to the next grade, you find that it has now shifted. Can you see? It has shifted to the right. Otherwise, sometimes it could do something similar to that, where it makes a U-turn in that quadrant. That means it has shifted to the left. So on the equation, what makes that shift? It is because of that b value. It's y is equals to ax squared. We know a, smiling or sad. Then this part of bx, it is the one that influence the sideways shift. And then now you remember you still have plus c. So that c at all the times, whether you are dealing with exponential, a parabola in this case, or a straight line, it refers to the vertical shift. Vertical shift means up or down. Always remember that. So now, that's all that I wanted to quickly take you through for the sake of those who are attending my lesson for the very first time, just to have a background on functions. And most importantly, remember that on our next lesson, we won't do that intro. We will straight away just answer the questions. So just in case if you feel like that was very quick and short, there is a full lesson where I was teaching all of those. So most importantly, because this is a grade 10 lesson, that's why a general formula can be limited to y is equals to ax squared, and then they say plus q. So you can see something is missing there. Generally, we know a parabola is ax squared plus bx plus c or plus q. Maybe let me keep it simple and use letter C there so that it doesn't confuse you guys. So this is what I want to say. What happens is, because this is a grade 10 lesson, this is not yet there. So can you see, you are now having that. Those of you who are in grade 10, when you get to grade 11, they are just going to add that. And guess what? Because you are now in grade 10, you are still trying to find your feet. Maybe you don't take education seriously. When you get to grade 11, you will be introduced to something similar to that. Your teachers will be trying to explain how it works and everything, and it still feels like it's complicated or it's difficult. Then, for some reason, you manage to get to grade 12. You still find the same thing, but it is now more complicated. So the problem with many learners is not understanding that for you to understand whatever that is confusing you in grade 12, this is where you need to start, because there's always a starting point on everything. This is the starting point for you to understand the functions. Once you understand this, that's when you can upgrade to that. Once you understand that, that's when you can upgrade to that. Hence, I always say I did my grade 10, 11, and 12. All of these grades, I studied them in grade 12. And in March, around March, I was completely done. So don't stress yourself about something in grade 12 which is confusing you. Just make sure that you start at the starting point, which is the content for grade 10. So this is the last part that I'm going to do, and then we move on to the questions. This is what happens. You are only seeing a function or functions which are already drawn. But this is what happened in the background before they arrived at that. They said, okay, under question number 5, we want to ask questions based on functions. But now, this is how we represent the function. As I always say, this is a plate, Bantubagiti, where you are going to put, there's your drumstick, there is your maybe rice, what else can I add there just to spice? Okay, maybe you're just going to be eating a drumstick, a rice, and a spice. Yeah, this is your meal for tonight. But what I want you guys to notice is that without a plate, you cannot have a, you don't have where to put all of those. So that means at all the times, the moment you see a functions, the starting point, or you need to firstly have a Cartesian plane. So it's more like a plate in this case. What is a Cartesian plane for? A Cartesian plane is so that you can have that and that and that, of which those will be your functions. So most importantly, a Cartesian plane has got the x-axis and the y-axis. And if you remember, we said it has 4 quarters. This is quarter number 1, this is quarter number 2, quarter number 3, quarter number 4. That's why we call them the quadrants. So just need to remember that from the origin in that direction, you have positive x values, negative x values, positive y values, negative y values. So most importantly, we draw functions on a Cartesian plane. You put the food on a plate. So now let's maybe start with a drumstick. And I think a drumstick will suit that one. So can you see, guys? This is a straight line. This is our drumstick on a plate. So now, because we are going to have more functions on one Cartesian plane, we need to give this straight line a name. So examiner who participated in forming this question, his name was George. That is why he said, okay, I will label that function George. Why? So that if George wants to ask questions based on a straight line, he's just going to say, refer to G, or maybe find G of X. So it is given the name of G because of Bra George. It doesn't end there, Bantu Bagiti. Bra George was not alone. His friend Mafranco said, okay, me being Franco, I'm then going to have that type of a function. So I'm going to ask them questions based on that function. So I'm going to label it a F for Franco. I want them to get confused by that letter F, thinking this is the function of function. Whereas you need to know whether that is a straight line, a parabola, a hyperbola, or exponential. So now you will notice that we have just drawn the two functions and we have actually given them those names, Franz and George. So you will realize something very, very much important to say at that point, exactly at that point, that's where this graph of Mafranco and that one of Bra George are actually meeting. So this is what we call the point of intersection. That's where the two functions intersect. It's not only there where they intersect. I'm sure you guys would agree with me to say even at that point, those two functions do intersect. But now let's call this point A so that if we want to ask you about that point, we will refer to that point as point A. So that means in maths under functions, letters, any letter from A up to Z, in that manner, they actually represent the points. Obviously, G and F, those are the names of the functions. So you have a point, sometimes you have that. What are those? So these are what we call the coordinates, and this is what we call a point, meaning these are the coordinates of point A. So now we still have this point named point D. It doesn't end there. There's another point there, and it is called point C. Most importantly, you need to be aware that at point C, that is where this straight line touches the y-axis. And then here we have another point being point B. At point B, good people, that's where this function of a parabola with a said shape touches the x-axis. It doesn't end there. You can see we also have that straight vertical line there. It is there for a reason. So you might need to expect questions based on that. So now this point, it is the one that they labeled point E. So that means you have letter A, B, C, D, and E. You might expect questions based on those points. So can you guys see I've redrawn those functions while explaining whatever that was happening in the background, and at the same time trying to interpret what was going on there. Most importantly, you need to be aware that here I'm having a positive gradient because of the straight line ending in the first quadrant and the third quadrant. And also I'm having a said shape. So that means I'm having a negative a value. And most importantly, this function, it was making a U-turn at the origin. But now, can you see where it's making a U-turn? Somewhere up there. What does it mean? As a mathematician, you do know very well that, okay, that means it has shifted from that point by whatever units upwards. So now it's either you are given an equation or the formula for that particular function, or they want you to determine it. So you will need all this information in order to know what to expect as your final answer. So that was me saying hello to everyone. So now here comes a question. Are you guys ready to start answering the questions, or is there someone who's got a question in relation to all that I've explained? Anyone who's got a question, honorable members? Let's see. We've got Sean on the line. Sean, are you sure you are okay that side? Go kids. I see Matapelo is also there. Lamlile. There's also Lechumil. Mbali is there. Who else? Daniel is there. I see Oratilwe. Oh, Abigail is there. Hey, even Muleboge is there. Guys, are you sure you are okay that side? And we are ready to start with the questions.
Sir, from my side, sir. Sir,
Yes.
do you mind repeating everything you said? Cause I do not understand the graph. I don't understand the question. I don't understand this thing.
Okay, in this case, Daniel, this is where I will encourage you to catch up either on the first lesson or otherwise on this same lesson, which will be posted tomorrow. It does happen that you miss that first lesson where we do an introduction, and then from there, because we have passed that stage, you will definitely be confused there and there. But to restart, it's unfortunate. We might not need to restart because of the time, and based on the fact that almost everyone is expecting to be solving those questions. So what I'm going to advise you, honorable member, don't leave this lesson, remain in the lesson, just watch whatever that I'll be doing, and then as soon as the lesson is done, send an inbox, and I'm going to give you a link where I started with an introduction. So all that I was doing, it was just me saying hello to everyone, because I've done a complete lesson where I explained step by step. So what you're going to do is just to catch up, where you get confused, make some notes, and then on our next lesson, towards the end of the lesson, that's when I'm going to remain with you and explain wherever you got confused. Did you get that, honorable member?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. So just remain and see what we will be doing. So let's see. Anyone who's got a question, Bantu Bakiti. So the same explanation to Daniel applies. Let's see. It applies to everyone who missed those lessons when I started. So remember, guys, all these lessons are being recorded just in case if you miss the lesson. Maybe it could be because of load shedding, it could be because of too much of schoolwork. But most importantly, make sure to catch up so that you are on the same page as everyone. So if you catch up and you get confused, we will address those on our next lesson. So, Danny the Daniel, just remain and see what we will be doing. After you catch up, I will then give you that special attention to address the challenges that you might be having when catching up. Okay, so now here comes the statement. I'm just going to quickly read through that given statement. It says, sketched below are the graphs of f of x, which is equals to a negative 4x squared plus 9. It now makes sense. What we are given there, it makes sense. So they're saying f of x, it's equals to negative 4x squared plus 9. Why am I saying it makes sense? Because of I expected a negative a value because I see a z shape. And again, because of that positive value, you can see it has shifted upwards. By how many units? By 9 units. How do I know upwards? Because of it's a positive value there. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, over there. So now, let's see. They're saying, and g of x is equals to 2x plus 3. It also makes sense. Why? Because a straight line, it ends in the first quadrant and the third quadrant. And also it has a positive gradient being positive too. So also this positive, as a mathematician, it means it has shifted upwards. If it was negative, it would mean downwards, meaning you are going to have your function below the origin. And then this value of 3, it means it has shifted by 1, 2, 3 units upwards. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, over there. And most importantly, this is what you can somewhere do. You know that at this point A, something is 0. I'm not sure if you guys are able to notice that something is 0 at point A, and also at point B, something is 0 there. I'm not sure, guys, if you're able to notice that something at point C is 0. Can you guys guess what is 0 at point A, point B, and point C? Hey, why is it like everyone ran away? Let me
Because
see.
it
Lamlile, you were saying something.
or because of 0 is a meter in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do it this way. At point A, do you guys agree that a y is 0 there? And you also agree that at point B, y is 0 there. It's only at C where the x is 0. I'm not sure if you guys agree with me on that one. Anyone who agrees with me on that one?
Could
No
you please
response.
repeat? I didn't quite get what you said.
Was I breaking? So this is what I was saying, Sean. So I was saying at point A, remember the coordinates, we have x and y. We have x and y. We have x and y. So where your function touches the x-axis, that's where automatically your y is 0. We call it the x-intercept. So that means where your graph touch that x-axis, automatically y is 0. It is because we do not know what the x value is, but we can see the y, it is that 0 there. Similarly, at B, we don't know what the x value is, but we can see that the y value, it is 0 there. And then here, you can see y value, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever at that point. But we just know that at the y-intercept, what is it? X is 0. I'm not sure if it makes sense, Bantu Bagiti, based on what I've explained there. Anyone just to indicate if it makes sense?
Thank you. I understand now.
Okay, so now let's try to answer the question. So the first question being 5.1, it says write down the coordinates of C. Write down the coordinates of C. So in every question there's a cream. So what is the cream of this question? The cream is examiner saying write. Bantu Bagiti, they are not saying calculate. They are not saying pray. They are not saying do anything other than writing. So that means an answer can possibly be taken from somewhere there. Write down the coordinates. How do we represent the coordinates? I just said this is how you represent the coordinates. Whatever that you do, it has to be in that format. The question is the coordinates of what? Good people, they set the coordinates of C, C being a point. So I just said we know that at point C, x is 0. But now, what is that y value? And remember, they said right. This is what you ask yourself. Point C, is it on a parabola or is it on a hyperbola? No, a straight line. So you can see this is your parabola. And that point C, it's not on a parabola, but on a straight line. So that means your answer should come from your straight line equation. So if you remember, I said that straight line was passing through the origin, but now it is no longer passing through there. It has shifted by whatever units upwards and it's now passing there. So on this function, what tells us more about the vertical shift? If you remember, I said this is the part that tells us about the vertical shift. That sign means it has shifted upwards. That it tells you by how much it has shifted. So at where it has shifted, that's where it cuts the y axis. That is why we are going to say the y value there, it's going to be exactly that value being 3. So if, for example, it was passing through there, maybe where that point is -4. So that means it has shifted downwards by 4 units, meaning here it was going to be -4. Then we're going to say 0 and -4. But in this case, because it has shifted upwards, that is where you say +3. I'm not sure if that makes sense to everyone before I move on to the next question. Is everyone happy? Let's, Abigail, are you sure you are following the honorable ma'am? Are you sure you are not lost?
Yes, sir, I'm sure. I'm definitely following.
Okay, 100%. Matapelo, are we still together that side, honorable member? I see Lichumile. It seems like he wants to say. Lichumile, do you want to ask a question? Hey, Muleboge, are you sure you are not watching Generations that side? You are quiet today, honorable member.
I am not watching anything. I'm actually struggling to hear you. I think ki internet
Network.
connection.
Okay. Let's hope
So
on
I
your
have a
side it's
question.
100%. Okay, Sean, a question.
So will it always be like that, whereby the, for instance, at gx equals to 2x plus 3, will it always be like that, whereby the last number this instant will be 3? Will it always be that that is the number that is going to be in the coordinate?
Sure, I'm not sure if I understand that question, but let me say something and you will tell if I've answered you. So, what happens is at all the times, if you have a positive value, it means it has shifted upwards. So, if you had 4, for example, that would mean at where it touches the y value, it's always going to be that value that it has shifted with. So that means it was going to be 4 there. Obviously, here 0. If it was maybe, let's say, 2x plus a 19. So that means it cast the y-axis at 19. So that means it was going to be 0 and 19. If it was, let's say, that 2x, maybe let's say minus 1,000. Should I say what? No, let me extend it and say 1 million, honorable. So that means it has shifted downwards by million units. How do you know downwards? Because of that negative. So that means automatically you are having a 0 and negative a 1. I'm not sure. Sean, did I answer you, honorable member? I think I did. I think I did. Sean, I'll just be waiting for your response. But in the meantime, let's try to have a look at that second question. So I think before I forget, honorable members, in this same grade 10 lesson, we do have our friends from grade 11 and grade 12. So I always encourage everyone to attend all my lessons. Reason to that is because I'm not really investing much of my time into teaching. I know they teach you at school, but I'm mostly interested in giving you guys the tips and the tricks that examiner use when asking this type of questions. You will in grade 11 and 12 find a question which says determine the coordinates of whatever, calculate the length, calculate the length if whatever, for which values of whatever, calculate the length of whatever. So it's
Yes, I
not
think you
really
answered
about
my question. Thank you so much.
okay, I just got Sean's response now, so I'll just continue. So I was saying it's all about if a question comes this way, how do you approach it? There are some tricks that you can apply in grade 10, of which they can also help you to answer grade 12 questions. So just make sure that whenever you attend any of my lesson, it's actually all about learning the tricks, which is what I'm mostly interested in. So I'm mostly interested in preparing you to answer any type of exam question. You won't answer exam questions using your textbook. Textbook is just there to guide you in terms of all that you need to know. But in terms of the tricks, you will need to solve exam type of questions. Okay, so let's see. 5.2. What are we doing there? Examiner says calculate the length of AB. Calculate the length of AB. Something very much important. Something very, very much important. The length and distance is one and the same thing. Length and distance is one and the same thing. So when something is written in capital letters under functions, especially in pairs, for example, they're saying letter AB, they are talking about the distance from point A to point B. If it is just A, you know it's a point. If it is just B, you know it's a point. But the moment it's AB, then it's a length from point A to point B. So now, the moment someone hear me saying a length and distance is one and the same thing, they are wondering, can't we use the distance formula in order to solve that question? So the distance formula, I think you are having maybe x2 minus x1 close squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Someone is wondering, can't we use the distance formula to work out that problem? So now a response to that is, the moment you start seeing yourself using the distance formula, that's if you have the coordinates of those 2 points. But the question now is, do we have the coordinates of point A and B? No, we don't. We just know there is 0, there is 0, but we don't know what the x for A and the x for B is. We do not know that. So automatically the formula cannot work. If that is the case, Moleboge, what is it that you need to do? How about you determine the x value at A and the x value at B? And then once you've done that, you can therefore say, okay, the length from the origin all the way up to A is whatever the x value that you got, and you plus it with the length from from the origin to that point being B. So if, for example, from there to there it's -4, I'm just giving you an example, and then from there to there it's 4. Guys, when it comes to distance, we don't consider the negative, but only the value. Because the distance, it's more like they are saying if you had to walk from point A to point B, can you see? You walk 4 units and again another 4 units. That is why you're going to say 4 units plus 4 units and not -4 units plus 4 units, because it's going to give you a 0, of which a
Pizza.
7.
hello, I come back. I'm suspecting I was breaking, guys. Someone to confirm what happened there. Was I breaking?
So,
Still breaking.
Okay, how is it now? Is it better now, or
yeah, it's better.
okay. But did you guys hear me when I was saying at point A and B, we know that y is 0? Did you get that part?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so the question is this point A and that point B, on which function are those points? So they are obviously on a parabola, both of them. And also point A, it is still on that straight line. But because you need these 2 points, that is why you use that function of a parabola. Why? Because these 2 points are on that parabola. So what is the equation of that parabola? It's y is equals to -4x squared plus 9. This is where you guys get it confused, because there you see f of x, you forget that actually f of x is y. They just used f of x so that they differentiate, or they make it easy for you to know which function is for our Uncle Mafranco and which one is for George. But they actually start with y is equals to all of that, or otherwise g of x. So that is why there I'm writing y is equals to all of that. But you guys just said y on this function is equals to 0 at point A and B. That is why I'm going to put 0 there and equate this to that. So can you guys see? This is where you now need to solve for x. And if you remember, when we started on the 2nd of January, I did take you through how to solve for x. So that means at this stage, we are not at a stage where we train you on how to solve math problems, but it's all about how you apply your understanding of functions. So make sure that you don't have a problem of solving math problems and again having a problem of analyzing the functions. If you do, then it means you still need to catch up and learn how to solve a math problem. So it does happen in maths where you just forget. So the moment you solve not knowing, there's a big problem. The moment you can feel that, no, I know, but I think it was breaking. Let me just confirm. Can you guys hear me now, or is it still breaking?
Hear you, but it's blurry, sis.
It's blurry. I'll need to try and do something. Let's see. How about now? Is it still blurry?
No, sir.
Okay. So quickly, I was saying the moment you start not knowing something, know you've got a very serious problem. But the moment you start saying or feeling like, I know this thing, but I forgot how to work it out, just know you do have a problem, but it's not that much serious, because what you need to do is to practice more. Once you practice more, it ends up feeling like a game, because you repeat one and the same thing, which is asked differently. So I'm telling you guys, in all the lessons that I've done, if you can watch or catch up on everything, it's enough for you to solve all the problems that we have done. So now, quickly, let's try to work out this math problem. One would say, maybe let's take this to the other side and this to the other side so that we have a positive a value, to write it in the standard form so that we can easily factorize. I'm not sure if you guys would agree with me if I say this is actually the same as 4x squared minus 9, which is equals to 0. So all I've done was just take this to the other side, it's positive, and that to the other side, and is that. So now, again, maths, it's all about you learning how to factorize. If you know how to factorize, it's very much easy. There are multiple ways to factorize. You can either use your head, or otherwise you can use that formula. But in grade 10s, you are not yet at a stage where you need to use a quadratic formula. But now you can see that, for example, that 4, it is the same as 2 squared. You also have x squared. You also have this 9, which is the same as 3 squared. So you can see you're just having a perfect square there. So that is why you can actually say 2x, and then you also have 2x. Then you have 3 here, you have 3 there. Then you'll choose where to put a plus, where to put a minus. So it's more like the whole of this thing. When you say this times that, let's see, that times that, that times that, that times that, and you simplify it, it has to take you back to exactly that. So now you are at a stage where you now need to equate all of this to 0. So let me give you an example. You're going to say 2x plus 3 is equals to 0. Then you take this 3 to the other side. It becomes 2x. It obviously changes the sign. Then you need to divide by 2 on both sides. Why dividing it by 2? So that it cancels. Then you end up having your x being equals to, for this one is going to be negative 3 over 2. And then for this one, let's see, you take it to the other side, it becomes positive. You divide by 2, you end up having x, which is equals to positive 3 over 2. So that means the x value here, it's actually negative 3 over 2, which is 1.5. And also here it's 3 over 2, which is positive 1.5. Did you guys get what I've done over there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, are we done with that question, or we are not yet done? If not, what is it that we need to do? If yes, we are done, are you ready for the next question? Which one is which? Hmm. Silence. Hmm?
We are not done.
Okay, what is it that we still need to do, honorable member? Because to me, it feels like we are done, guys. What is it that we still need to do? I'm trying to think what needs to be done. Okay, so that point A, we just calculated it to be
So I'm
negative
not
3
sure
over
if we are
2
done because the
and
question was asking for the length and we only gave the coordinates.
100% honorable member. But now, so that means from the origin to there, that length, it's actually a 3 over 2. You ignore the sign. We are now talking about the length. But this negative, you only include it the moment you hear yourself talking about the coordinates, because the coordinates are either positive values or negative values. But in terms of the length of the distance, we talk about that. So also from the origin to there, we still have 3 over 2. So it's more like that total length from A to B. I think it's 1.5 plus 1.5, which is 3. I think it's 3. 3 units. Do you guys agree with me on that one? I think it's 3 units. 1.5 plus 1.5. I think it's 3. Because if you add those, they give you 3. Do you guys agree with me on that one? Hey, everyone
Yes,
is quiet.
sir.
I'm no longer confident. Okay, 100%. So, now we can confidently say we are done with that question. So, most importantly, Moleboga, let me also quickly show you something very much important. Remember, I just said it's at that point of A where it touches a straight line and also that. So, since it also touches a straight line at that point, let's see if we had to use this to calculate the x value there, were we going to get negative 3 over 2? Let's check. We know that this is the equation of a straight line. So we know that y is 0 there. Then what we need to do is to solve for x plus 3 there. So can you see, you take that to the other side. Then you end up having negative 3, which is, so you need to divide by exactly 2, y2, so that it cancels for you to remain with x. Whatever that you do on the left, you do on the right. So that means you are having that. You remember, I'm sure you remember me saying, let's not say a person is shown, but say shown is a person. So this is what I mean by a person is Abigail, but let's say Abigail is a person. So that's how you correctly or formally represent a final answer. I'm pretty much sure that you guys are now able to notice that there are some questions where examiner tries to be tricky, maybe by saying find the coordinates of A, Or sometimes they just give you an equation of a straight line and not give you an equation of that. And they still say the coordinates of point A. Don't think because point A is on that function and you don't have its equation, therefore it's impossible and you skip it. Just always remember that at that point, you can either use that or that. So the reason why we used that is because of we also had to find that b value. That is why we were forced to use the graph of f. But if we were only looking for a, then we could have gone for that one of g. So this is what I mean when I say such information you will need regardless of the grade in which you are, especially those of you guys who are writing in May. Please, honorable members, please do attend all my grade 10s, 11 and 12 lessons just for you to score something new. It's not really about lowering your standard or anything of that nature. I'm pretty much sure that there's someone in grade 11 or 12 who have gained something new out of this lesson, which is what you need. You need as much information as possible so that you can confidently fight in exams. So it's very painful for you to go in exam with very limited information because questions are tricky there, and some of them you don't really need to be knowledgeable. That's why I always say you can cram or know everything that you were taught in your specific grade, but you still have some additional information in order to attend to some specific questions. So let's see. 5.3 says calculate the length of DE if AE is equals to 2.5 units. Okay, this is the code for today's lesson. For those of you guys who attended the lesson for today, you're just going to type in the group a half and then you put a full stop there. So this is so that we know who attended today's lesson. In case your parents are asking, how is a honorable member doing? Is he banking lessons? Is he attending? Then we'll just scroll up and check if you were attending. If you do not comment with that, after 6 months, if we try to check if you've been attending, it's going to look like you did not attend. So just note that down so that when the lesson is done, you just type half with a full stop just to confuse the enemy. We know there are those who just see everyone commenting and they just comment, and that half is going to confuse you. No, that full stop, it's going to okay. So let's see. Calculate the length of DE. Yes, if AE is equals to 2.5 units. Yeah. Yes. This one, Bantupakit, how are we going to work out this one? Koketso, it seems a bit scary, honorable member. I'm not sure if you've got an idea of how we can possibly work out this one. Wait, calculate the length of DE. Where's DE? There's DE. If AE, where's AE? If AE is equals to that. Just says, guys, anyone who's got an idea of how we can calculate the length of DE. So DE is actually from that point there up to this point here. Anyone who's got an idea, Bantu Bagiti? Hey, silence. Why is it like everyone ran away? Who's name? Abigail, Lichemi, Lamlile. Did you guys run away?
So D is the point of intersection between graphs f of x and g of x, and because D and E lie within the same x kind of coordinates, you can use the same coordinates of x for D and E. You just need to find the y values which differ. And the y value for E is 0, so yeah.
Hey, wait, I think you're onto something, honorable member. Let me note down all that you're saying. Let's maybe slowly start. So, what did you say there?
So point D is the point of intersection between G and F.
Yes.
Um, so I would just equate f of x and g of x and solve for x.
Okay. You solve for x. Let's say you get x, and then from there,
And then substitute x back into the formula for g or f, and then find y, because they'll have the same value for x.
100%. 100%. I'm just not sure if I'm the only one who understood what honorable member was saying there. Mbali, I'm not sure, honorable member, if you understood that suggestion there. But wait, Abigail, isn't there another method that can be used in order to work out that? I can see Abigail is still thinking there. Koketso. Okay, let's try to work it out. Before we get to that other or the method that honorable member is suggesting there, of which is correct, let's also try to check this. Were we not told that from that point A, no, we're not even told. I think we did calculate that from point A to point B. What was that length? Was it not 3? I think it was 3 units. If it was 3 units, so now we are told that, what is it? AE it's equals to 2.5. So that means from A to there, it's equals to 1.5. Let me maybe do this so that we remember this is that y-axis. Just as I'll need to be realistic, I won't put it there because it's right in the middle of A and B. We know from there to there it's equals to 3 units. That we know. And then this is your point E there. And at that point, we're just told now that from somewhere to somewhere, we have something, which is what? Which is 2.5. Let me just say 2.5. So from what I understand, Abigail wants that x value there so that she can substitute it into one of the equations. But now, how about we try to calculate that length from there all the way up to there, and that's how we can get our x value. And the question is, how would you calculate for that? Which is something which could be tricky, but this type of questions are the questions that you'd find in Maths Lit. Otherwise, you can use your basic understanding to say, if I've got from there to there being 3 units in total, but I also know that here, what is this length? Is it not 1.5? If you remember, it was 3 over 2. 3 over 2 as a decimal is 1.5. Also, this side is 1.5. So now they've given you from there up to there. What if from that total distance, you just cut that 1.5. You're just going to remain with that distance. What is that distance? I think it's 1. I think I'm losing you there, Bantu Bakiti. Hey, I think I'm losing you there. I can just sense it that I'm losing you guys. Can someone confirm so that I can try to re-explain? Guys, am I not losing you there?
It could be
Sean, am I not losing you there?
I'm lost, sir.
Yeah, no, I can feel it.
yes,
Okay.
I'm also
Uh,
lost.
but do you guys remember that? Let me quickly do that and say we have D there. So what I'm trying to say is we are given a statement which says AE is equals to 2.5. So AE is from that point being A. Remember, your E is there. From there to there. They're saying is 2.5. That total length is 2.5. So what we are trying to find is this length. So we know that from a there to there, that total length, what is it? They've just given us as a 2.5. 2.5 is 2.5. But wait, do you understand this part to say from there to there is 2.5? That one you understand most. Someone to
Yes, sir.
respond.
Yes,
Okay, so now we just want this small distance. How about we minus all of that? What do we minus? We minus this because we know from there to there it's equals to that. So that is why you're going to say 2.5 minus 1.5, or otherwise you can write it as they did. You punch 2.5, you minus 3/2. The distance that you're going to find is from there to there, and whatever that you get, it is your x value, which is 1. So that means from there to there is 1. Abigail, which means what you were saying, which is correct, by equating these two functions and then you solve for x. That means you could possibly get your x value being 1. Then you just take that one value, substitute it in any of your equations to get that y value, which is going to be the length from E to D, or to D, from D to E. So I was just trying to say there are multiple ways to work it out, but it seems like this type of working it out, it could be a bit tricky, in a sense that someone might not be aware that you can actually play around those lengths, of which this understanding, it's not coming from elsewhere, guys. It comes from me understanding that chapter of analytical geometry, of which we're going to quickly move on to that after functions. So I'm not sure what I've just explained. Does it make sense in terms of that being the total length, and we remove that, then we remain with that portion, which is 1? Only that part. Does it make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
So I have a question.
Yes.
yes, sir.
Is it possible that because we have the coordinates of A and C and we don't have the coordinates of D, like, would we be able to work out D using the midpoint formula or not?
Let's see. No, because I'm just not sure of how to respond, honorable member. But one thing for sure, remember, this is just a hand drawn drawing. So the reason why you can't use the midpoint formula for you to determine that point is because this point is not exactly between the origin and B. That is why you can't use the midpoint formula. But what you explained at first, it's exactly how you can work it out as option number B. Let me just pull this. So can you see that that point E it's not exactly in the middle of the origin and B. I'm not sure, Abigail, if you are able to notice what I'm trying to explain there, honorable member.
Yes, sir, I understand. I was just asking between A and D because you have C's value.
Between
So, and then you
between
find
A
D's
and D.
and D, yeah, which is up there.
Yes,
Oh, but is C not
yes.
the midpoint though?
Wait, let me see. So, oh, you're saying between A and D,
Yes,
you use the midpoint formula.
yes. And then you work the other way around, then you find E from D.
Then okay, okay. I think I understand you there, honorable member. But do you now understand that concern of us not being sure whether C it's in the middle of those 2 points, and it doesn't look like. Can you see?
That makes sense. Okay.
Yes, yes. Okay. Uh, that was a very brilliant idea there. To think of such, it shows that you are trying to check other possibilities. And now that you realize it can't work, then you have noticed that, okay, it can't work because of us not being sure that between this and this, that is in the middle. But now, because we know what the x value is there, you can now use any formula between those two. Okay, let me just remove all of this and say we are now on the same page regarding what is it? Regarding what am I saying, guys? This is what I'm saying. We know that our x value at E is 1. So now that means you can either substitute it there or there in order to find that y value. And the y value, it is actually the length from there to there, which is the length from there to there. So that's a smart way of examiner saying find the y value of D. Already, we've calculated the x value to be x being 1. So all the boys substitute 1 onto that formula. Where you see x, put 1 there and tell me what answer you get. All the ladies substitute there and tell me what the answer is. Whoever gets the answer, you can just comment. I just want to see if you're going to get the same answer. If you do, then it has to be correct.
It's 5.
Someone is saying 5. I don't trust you. Who says 5? Lamlile, is it you?
It's 5.
I don't trust you. Hey, Matapelo says it's 5. Hey, now I withdraw. I withdraw, honorable member. I trust you. Then it means it's 5 there. So that
I'm
means
also getting 5.
DE it's equals to 5. Someone just confirmed. I think it was shown. So that means from there to there, it's actually 5 units. So from the origin to there, it's actually 1 unit. So these coordinates, there we say those are the coordinates because of that point being there. But another interpretation of that point, you can say that's where from the origin, everything is referenced from the origin. From the origin to there is 1 unit. From there to up there is 5 units. And that point has the coordinates 1 and 5. That's how you interpret it. I think it was a straightforward question. So quickly, let me tell you what Abigail was saying. She was saying she noticed at that point that parabola and a straight line, they intersect. So that means at this point, the two functions are equal. So that means f is equals to g because that is the point of intersection. This is what she was going to do. She was going to say that's where f of x is equals to g of x. and say negative 4x squared plus 9, because of it is that function of that, it's equals to 2x plus 3. Then she was going to try and solve for x. Let's see. She was going to transpose having that, and then that to the other side is negative that. That to the other side is more like 9 minus 3. What is 9 minus 3? 6, 7, 8, 9. I think it's 6, and as a positive 6. Then you can decide to remove that negative, because for you to have a quadratic equation as a standard form, that's if the a value is positive and everything is equated to 0. Maybe we can divide by 2 or negative 2, then you have positive 2, and then you divide that, it becomes a, what is it, positive x, and then you divide that by negative 2, and then it's negative 3, it's equals to 0. Then what she was going to do is to factorize. Let's say, for example, she was going to have 2x there, x there. And then now, let's see, what was she going to have there? Let's see. Was it going to be 1 here and then 3 there? So that she says that times that, it gives her that. That times that is 2x. And then now we need the signs. The question is, which one becomes positive, which one becomes negative? That times that is positive, that times that. Do we need a negative, so that when we say that times that as a positive value, it gives us that, and then that times that, it gives us 3. So as a grade 10 learner, that's how you're going to struggle to try and find the factors. But guess what? When you get to grade 11, you just use a quadratic formula. Just say over negative into b. What is b? B is 1 plus a square root of 1 squared minus 4. A is 2, C is negative 3. You close and you say over 2 into A being 2. Then it gives you your final answer, which is positive 1. So that means your final answer, you have your x, which is positive 1. From there, you equating that to 0. Then you go back, you change that sign to be a minus, then you get negative 3 over 2, which is that part. So where you equate this to 0, you transpose and you divide by 2, it becomes negative 3. Hey, Bantu Bakiti, I think honorable member was onto something here. It is correct, because you see, this is the one that we just proved using our tricks there. And again, this x value, it is that point there. Why do I know it is that point? Because this straight line, it touches parabola 2 times. So that means one x value, it is this one, and then the other x value, it is that one of that. So I had to be quick on that, because I was just trying to explain what honorable member was referring to there. Abigail, is this what you were saying, honorable member? But it doesn't end there. Once you get those answers, you use this one to substitute either there or there, and it's going to give you 5 as it did. But just to confirm, Abigail, were you trying to explain something different from what I've just explained there?
No, sir, 100% what you've done there. That's exactly what I was referring to.
Okay, 100%. So now, very quickly, let's try and have a look at what is it, 5.4. This type of questions are a bit tricky. For you to fully understand them, you must have studied so many functions until you get to a point where you are confident with the calculations, and you now just try to so they're saying, for which values of x will the graph of Mafranco actually be greater than that of g of x? At which x values will the graph of Mafranco be greater than that? So this sign, you can interpret it as greater than. Maybe let's say as above, meaning this being above that one. Or maybe you can use the word bigger, meaning this being bigger than that one. So it's in most cases where you might find that it's either this will be suitable for that scenario, or this will be suitable to that scenario, or this will be suitable to that scenario. That's why I'm saying you must have done a lot of functions for you to somehow get them that different interpretations to different functions. So just to quickly say something, would you guys agree with me that the graph of Mafranco is actually above the graph of G in that portion there? I'm not sure if you guys agree with me there.
So
So that's what you firstly need to be aware of. Then from there, you can say where it is actually above the graph of G. It's at that point and also at that point there. That is why one would say it's actually between negative 3 over 2 and again 1. That's why an answer can be represented in that format. I think also some may say x is the element of, with those curvish brackets, they say negative 3 over 2, and then they say 1. So that's another way of saying the same thing, but differently, mathematically so. So if you had, for example, greater than there, then here you were also going to add that greater than. But in terms of the brackets, you do those ones of the corners, pantubagiti. So that means if there it was less than Moleboge, that means they are saying at which x values is this one of Mafranco either less than, here it's above, so that means otherwise below, here is bigger, otherwise smaller. So can you see, this is where it's actually below that one of a straight line. I'm not expecting everyone to understand this at this stage. So this is what I'm going to say. I'm also not going to ask you whether you understand or not. This is an indication that it is not our last time doing these functions. Remember, the aim is to finish the syllabus in May, and then from there, we just do a repeat of what we have done. So it's more like you're doing your grade 3 times. We do it, we complete it. You do it at school, you complete it. We're also going to redo it. So guys, I'm expecting distinctions. At least 80% is what we are aiming for. But remember, Lamlide, I want to emphasize this point to say it doesn't mean because you are attending my lessons, it doesn't mean because you understand everything that I'm explaining, then it guarantees that you're going to pass. You can still fail. I'm telling you, literally, you can get a very nice, beautiful 0% in your final exams. That's if you do not give yourself enough time to practice all that we have done. So don't say because you understand, don't say because they look easy, don't say because you pass our tests, don't say because you're passing your classworks, homeworks, assignments, or whatever, then it means you're going to make it in exams. If you do not practice using exam question papers, I'm telling you, you might struggle. So just make sure that as we do all of this, don't try something else. Just try to redo exactly what I've done. I'm telling you, over time, if you repeat it over and over again, it is going to get to a point where it makes sense. Then, when we do those complicated questions, that's when you will fully understand, because you firstly need the knowledge. Once you have the knowledge, you will need someone who can easily explain. Once it's explained, that's when it's going to make sense. It will never make sense if you do not have the knowledge. So that's why I'm saying try to catch up, try to do as many problems as you can. Do not study without having a memo. Make sure you've got a memo, but try it first, fail, check the memo, and then once you try to understand what they've done on the memo. If you understand the memo, it's a good indication that you are getting there. Where you don't understand, that's where you need to consult with your teacher, otherwise your tutor. And most importantly, Abigail, I don't assist with homeworks, assignments, projects, or whatever. I want you guys to fail big time. I want you guys to fail your homeworks. I want you guys to fail your assignments. I know your parents sometimes they do attend these lessons. Parents, please, honorable members, don't assist them with those homeworks and whatever. Your assistance should be limited to this question is 5.5. That means you must read or study or do whatever to answer it. Then it ends there. They need to use their brains. They need to learn to find information themselves. And then they get 3% for their assignment, homework, whatever. This is going to serve as an indication to your teacher to say, hey, there's a big trouble here. Someone got 3%. Let me check why they got 3%. Then they realize, okay, this is what you are writing. This is what you're writing. That means you did not understand this. You got confused there. You made a mistake there. You mixed up things there. Then you will hear your teacher saying, come see me in the staff room. They are going to then explain to you where you went wrong and try to make sure that on your next assignment you get something better than that. But guess what? If I help you and you get 100%, you'll be very, very, very much happy thinking that, okay, since I got 100%, maybe it will add up to my final examination, and at least I can get something because I got. It doesn't work that way, Bantu Bagit. You might find that this 100% that you got will be converted to a smaller percentage, which could be maybe a maximum of 25%, and that 100% maybe it gives you 3% towards your final examination. So that means you still have 97% that you need to work on it in your exams. So I'm very much confident with this because during my time, I did not care that much about me getting lower marks in my assignments or whatever. So it helps because when you get to varsity, it won't be your parent. You might also not get a tutor. It will just be you and so many assignments, and you now need to apply your mind. It becomes difficult when you have to do that at varsity level because you are not used to, you don't know what to do. That's why they will give you money to buy food, and you will take that money and save it so that you have money to go home because you can easily pack your stuff. So just make sure, Bantu Pakiti, that at all the times you take your education seriously. Last point, Mbali. Last point. You guys are very, very much lucky to have discovered my lessons while you're still in grade 10, because we will move to 11 and we will move to 12. When you get to 12, this is where I'm preparing you guys to get good marks. So that means you have 3 full years to prepare for the rest of your life, where God is going to bless you with at least 8 years. Imagine, guys, imagine playing within these 3 years and you get lower marks. You get lower marks, you fail, or whatever. You can imagine you're going to struggle for the rest of your life. Imagine struggling for 80 years because you did not take education seriously just for 3 years. So just always think about that, Bantu Bakit. And most importantly, we do have some events where we invite a guest to discuss such. So just make sure that to stay highly motivated, you don't miss my classes together with the events. Okay, I think now I need to say amen and look at that last question, which is allocated 2 marks, saying calculate the length of a day. The length of a day. So this is what I'm going to say, Molebo. Listen very carefully. Everyone, listen very carefully. It's only where you have a line which is at an angle. If you have a straight line at an angle, just like in this case, you've got that point being point A, you've got that point being point D. And can you see this line is at an angle? For that reason, remember the distance formula. For that reason, remember a straight line formula. But if we are talking about a point from the x-axis or the y-axis to another axis, in this case, can you see? It's a point from the x-axis to another point in the x-axis. Think of the lengths. To say, if I know that total length, can I not subtract that and I have that? Or if I have those coordinates, I will know from the origin to there, to there, then I can plus the 2. So you don't need to use the distance formula. But also, if you have a vertical line, can you see? If they say this line is parallel to that y-axis, you know it's a vertical line. Then also, you just need to know the y value, and then that is the length from there all the way to there. It is the same as there all the way up to there. Be careful of that. Only if Lamlile, you are having a straight line at an angle. Doesn't matter whether you're in grade 10, 11, or 12. Even when you get to varsity, the moment you start seeing a line being at an angle, remember a straight line, distance formula. So what is the formula? It says D is equals to x2 minus x1 squared. I think it says y2 minus y1 squared. So this is how examiner is going to trick you. They are not going to say calculate the length. No, that they will say. They are not going to say calculate the distance from A to D. They are not going to say that because they know the moment they say distance, they remind you of the distance formula. They are going to say calculate the length because they know there are some who will try to think, hey, what is the length formula? And they realize their teacher never taught them about the length formula. Hey, what is the length formula? Kanti, the length formula, it is the same as the distance formula. So that means mathematically, when we talk about the length and distance, one is the same thing. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, over there. So now, when you use this formula, you ask yourself, do I have 2 points which have the coordinates? If an answer to that question is a big yes, then it means you can easily substitute. Once you've substituted, you'll get a mark for substituting, and the last mark will come from you giving a final answer, of which you can say whatever that you get, units. So what I'm saying is we do have the coordinates of A, we also have the coordinates of B. So how do you substitute? Which one are you going to assign it to x2, y2, x1, y1? Alphabetically, A comes first and then D comes second. So that is why you're going to say these are going to be your second values, meaning x2, y2. And this will be your x1 and y1. Here, I think it's -3/2. And then 0 there. So most importantly, here you substitute the sign. So let's see, what is x2? There x2 is 1. You minus x1 inside the brackets. This is where you will get it wrong by confusing that negative with that one. That's how examiner catch you. Let's say plus, what is y2? I think there y2 is 5, and then you minus it with 0, and then you say that. So when you punch all of this on a calculator, boys and girls, what are you guys getting there? Hey, Sean, why is it like you are sleeping there, honorable member? Are you sure you are still in the lesson?
I'm still here, so I've just been having network issues.
Okay. I think you just punched that and it concludes our lesson for today. what I'm going to do is to make sure that this lesson is posted so that you guys can catch up. What are you guys getting there? Let me also punch, because I don't trust you guys. I don't trust you guys. I know there someone is still busy trying to punch all of that, and you are going to get million values there and give me the wrong answers. So let's see, minus 0 squared. What am I getting? Hey, is it everyone who's getting what I'm getting there? Hey, this answer looks funny. I'm no longer sure. As a decimal, what that is. As a decimal is 5.59 units. Guys, what are you guys getting there? Are you getting the same value that I'm getting there?
Yes, sir.
Abigail, I don't trust you, honorable member. I don't know why. I need someone to just confirm. I know I also got that. I also don't trust myself, honorable member. Because I don't trust myself and I don't trust you, Abigail, I need the last honorable member to just confirm. Guys, what are you getting there?
59.
Oh, yes, 5.59 also. Okay. Then, Abigail, I withdraw, honorable member. I trust you. But only on that one name. On the other questions, I will tell you if I trust you or not. And also, I trust myself. Matapelo, thanks for that confirmation, honorable member. I'm confident that it is correct. So, guys, this concludes our lesson for today. This lesson had to be a bit lengthy. Reason to that is because, as I've indicated, it's not only about answering this 10 marks worth of questions. It's about you having the knowledge, you understanding how the functions work. And I'm well aware that it's not everyone who understood. Reason to that is because you still need to catch up. So just make sure to catch up, and everything will over time make some sense. So, guys, I'm just going to sign out, but most importantly, remember the code for today. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for joining. My name is Desmond. You guys have a very good night, and I'm out.